All men must die, but for those that survived Season 7, where exactly are they on this big map? Let's get you caught up on everyone's whereabouts prior to the final season of Game of Thrones. Starting in the capital of the Seven Kingdoms, King's Landing. Cersei Lannister was last seen getting into a bit of an argument with her brother lover Jaime. For a second there, it even looked like she was going to have the Mountain kill him. But she let him off the hook and presumably poured herself a glass of wine. "You're pregnant, Cersei. Put the glass down." Cersei promised to help Daenerys and Jon in the Great War against the White Walkers, but she has other plans.
"You plotted with Theon Greyjoy without telling me the command of your armies."
She sent her new naval commander-in-chief Euron Greyjoy to Essos to pick up her pricey new army, the Golden Company. On board Euron's ship, you'll also find his niece Yara, who was taken prisoner after he wiped out her entire fleet. Who else is in the capital? Well, Tycho Nestoris extended his vacation a couple weeks after renegotiating a new Lannister loan.
"Rest assured, Your Grace, you can count on the Iron Bank's support."
After clearing her family's debt with Highgarden and gold, Cersei now has the Iron Bank of Braavos' financial support, hence the new army on the way. Qyburn, like the Mountain, doesn't stray too far from Cersei's side. Cersei named Qyburn as her hand and maester despite being a Citadel dropout.
Know what the Midwest is, young and restless.
Unsurprisingly, he was a bit unethical. Last season, he commissioned some new Scorpions, aka supersized crossbows, that Bronn successfully used to take Drogon down a peg during the loot train attack. He also knows a whole lot about the deadliest poisons. Something tells me that Qyburn will have a few more tricks up his sleeves in Season 8.
"I don't believe you."
Now, after that tense standoff with Cersei and her zombie bodyguard, Jaime Lannister checked out of King's Landing. Where exactly is he heading? He'll most likely take the King's Road north to help fight the undead army. Perhaps the most important bit of this, Jaime knows Cersei's plans to betray Dany and Jon. But will he actually reveal those plans? Regardless, there's a good chance we'll see him at the big battle at Winterfell. As for the aforementioned Bronn, he put together that face-to-face meeting between Jaime and Tyrion underground at King's Landing. Bronn sat out the eventual Dragon Pit meeting between Team Cersei and Team Dany Jon, but considering his close relationship with Jaime and the debt he still owed, there was a pretty good chance that Bronn will follow Jaime north.
"Till I get what I'm owed, a dragon doesn't get to kill you. You don't get to kill you. Only I get to kill you."
Also, Cersei doesn't think too highly of Bronn, so it's best that he leaves town. But remember, Tyrion did offer to double Bronn's pay should he decide to switch allegiances and join his side.
And that would be double what now, exactly?
Don't you worry about me, I'm doing all right. Looking after myself.
Elsewhere in King's Landing, you'll find Ellaria Sand. She was captured by Euron mid-flirt with Yara. Both Ellaria and her daughter Tyene were dragged through the streets of King's Landing and offered to Cersei as a gift.
"I give you what no other man could give. Justice.
Justice for your murdered daughter."
Ellaria is still likely chained up in that dungeon after being forced to watch Tyene die from the same poison that Ellaria used to kill Myrcella. Remember, Cersei promised that she would spend the rest of her life in those chains.
"You will live to watch your daughter rot, to watch that beautiful face collapse to bone and dust."
Moving over to White Harbor, where a handful of characters are returning from their United Westeros meeting en route for a big-time family reunion at Winterfell. This includes Jon Snow and Daenerys Targaryen, who spend much of their voyage taking a long nap together. Neither of them is aware, however, that Jon is a Targaryen and also Dany's nephew. Maybe Tyrion Lannister knows this little detail and that's the reason behind his peculiar look outside their door. Or Tyrion just isn't all that excited for their budding romance. Truth is, we don't really know with whom Tyrion's loyalties ultimately lie, and what this might mean for the future. After successfully coming to Sansa's aid and returning her to her rightful home in Winterfell, Brienne of Tarth helped Arya brush up on some sparring skills, like she even needed it. Brienne then joined Jon and Dany on their trip down to King's Landing, where she reunited with the Hound for a quick chat about Arya.
"Who's protecting her if you're here?"
The only one that needs protecting is the one that gets in her way.
It won't be me.
Brienne also pleaded with Jaime to persuade Cersei to join the North in their fight against the White Walkers. Both her and her squire Podrick are en route to Winterfell, as is Sir Davos Seaworth. Davos helped smuggle Tyrion into King's Landing for that initial meeting with his brother Jaime, and was also able to track down Gendry and recruit him for the fight up north. Now, Davos isn't much of a fighter himself, so he sat out that adventure north of the Wall, but he accompanied the crew for their Dragon Pit meeting in King's Landing, and he wasn't a fan of how it went.
I wish I hadn't done that.
Other notable characters en route to Winterfell: the marathon-running blacksmith Gendry, the slithery Varys, a grayscale-less Jorah Mormont, the Hound, and my favorite couple in the Seven Kingdoms, Grey Worm and Missandei. Of course, Gendry, Jorah, and the Hound helped bring that white to King's Landing, and during that meeting, the Hound was able to get in a few words with his big bro, the Mountain, who, unsurprisingly, gave him the silent treatment.
Doesn't matter. It's not how it ends for you, brother. You know who's coming for you. You've always known.
On to Winterfell. In Jon's absence, Sansa Stark took over house-sitting duties as Lady of Winterfell. She soon reunited with her siblings Arya and Bran. She also bested Littlefinger at his own game, as she teamed up with her assassin sister to prove Peter Baelish's deceiving motivations.
I loved you more than anyone.
And yet you betrayed me.
As for Arya, she was busy on her Stark revenge tour in Season 7. It started with the entire Frey family and ended with Littlefinger's slit throat. Something tells me that she won't be slowing down this season. Last we saw, Sansa and Arya were sharing a nice chat about their dad as winter officially and finally came.
I miss him.
Bran Stark is no longer Bran Stark. He is now the Three-Eyed Raven, after the OG TER was cut down by the Night King. He returned home to spend some time with his favorite tree in the backyard, and has more visions of the past, which included some much-needed Ned Stark backstory.
Listen to me, Ned. If Robert finds out, he'll kill him. You know he will. You have to protect him.
Littlefinger gifted him with the same Valyrian dagger that was used in his own attempted murder way back in Season 1. And when we left him, he just caught up with Sam Tarly.
I became the Three-Eyed Raven.
Oh.
They pieced together the puzzle that Jon Snow is no Snow, nor a Stark. He's Aegon Targaryen, the son of Lyanna Stark and Rhaegar Targaryen. Speaking of Sam, he too became a Citadel dropout. After realizing he didn't have any more time to waste in literal human waste. But before we left Old Town, Sam cured Jorah of his grayscale, and with the help of Gilly, discovered that Jon's parents were a legit couple and even had a secret marriage. In other words, Jon's no bastard. At Dragonstone, Theon Greyjoy is planning his much-needed comeback story. His uncle Euron decimated Yara's entire fleet, then Theon abandoned her when Euron had a blade to her throat. Bottom line, Theon needs some redemption for all the horrible things he's done. He had previously ran into Jon Snow, who shockingly let him live because, he did help Sansa escape from Ramsay Bolton. Then he joined Jon and Dany at the Dragon Pit meeting with Cersei. By the end of Season 7, Theon took the lead of the remaining Ironborn with a renewed focus on saving his sister as priority number 1.
Not for me. For Yara!
After hanging around Dragonstone for a few episodes, Melisandre ended up in Volantis. But before heading east, she had a very ominous conversation with Varys about their fate. Specifically, she revealed that Varys and her were going to die in Westeros.
Oh, I will return, dear Spider. One last time.
My lady.
I have to die in this strange country. Just like you.
So I guess we can count on her returning this season and then probably quickly dying. What was the worst place to be at the end of Season 7? Eastwatch. That's because the Night King and 100,000 of his closest dead friends paid a visit. Atop his brand spanking new ice dragon Viserion, the Night King took down the centuries-old wall, the only thing that was keeping the White Walkers to the far north. The icy march south continued. Unfortunately for Tormund Giantsbane and Beric Dondarrion, they were keeping guard on top of that wall. When Season 7 ended, we were unsure if the pair had even survived the attack. But thanks to Season 8 teasers and trailers, we can now confirm that they're alive. We're not sure, however, how long they will be alive since the Great Big War is coming to Winterfell. For the love of Brienne and Tormund, please spare his life a bit longer. As for Beric's buddy Thoros of Myr, unfortunately, he didn't make it back alive from white hunting. He was viciously attacked by a zombie snow bear and ended up freezing to death. Rest in peace, Thoros. Somewhere out there is Meera Reed. She dragged Bran through miles and miles and miles of snow safely back to Winterfell. All she got in return was an emotionless, three-eyed raven goodbye, and we haven't seen her since.
You don't need me anymore.
No, I don't.
That's all you've got to say.
At least give her a hug, dude. Last but certainly not least, what about everyone's favorite sex pirate, Salladhor Saan? We haven't seen him since season 4, and we're hoping he's still very much alive because he has some unfinished business.
Cersei, I want you. I'll sail with your fleet, all 30 of my ships. And if we don't drown at the bottom of Blackwater Bay, I will this blonde queen and I'll her well.
Oh, he's definitely returning. Cersei's biggest advantage might be at sea after Euron demolished Yara's fleet. Perhaps this pirate could pose a formidable challenge to Euron on the open water and in Cersei's private chambers. GameSpot of Thrones is coming back for the final season. We'll be breaking down every single episode of Season 8, so make sure you're subscribed. Hit us up in the comments and let us know your predictions for the final season. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.